given that one or more board members may appear at the scheduled meeting via video conference, but the presiding officer and a quorum of the board will be physically present at the above notice location. Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Robstown Independent School District will be held on Thursday, September 16th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the boardroom of the Robstown Administration Building, 801 North First Street, Robstown, Texas, at which time the agenda items will be discussed. In the course of the meeting, the board may change the order of business at its discretion without advance notice. First item on the agenda, call to order, roll call.
Larry Martin present.
Live Martin present.
Bertha Roldan present.
Lori Garza present, not with us at the moment, Cesar Martinez and Hector Lopez. Next item, moment of silence, prayer. Bertha, would you like to lead us in prayer?
Yes, I would, thank you. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussions, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect the students, staff, faculty, and friends. And as we continue to remind us that we do here today, what we do here today, and all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory to you, and for the service of humanity, as we ask these things in your prayer. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bertha.
You're welcome.
For the record, Cesar Martinez is present. Next item, Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Next item on the agenda, vision. Would anybody like to recite the vision, please?
Vision is furthering lifelong learning by providing limitless opportunities for success.
And now our mission.
Empowering individuals today to prepare for tomorrow.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, public participation. Irma? None. Thank you, Irma. Next item, informational items. Sir?
Good evening, trustees. Good evening, community and our staff. This evening, just as a reminder, trustees, Tacit TASB convention is September 24th through the 26th. If you have any specific questions or any last items, please make sure that you follow up with Irma tonight. The second thing on the item is Texas Open Meetings Act video conference Zoom board meetings. Trustees, in your packet on page 7, what you'll find is the legal update. So basically, we've already been practicing the proper as of September 1st, but even prior to that, we were practicing. So remember, we can still continue utilizing Zoom, but we have to have the quorum here in order to have a meeting, a physical meeting. So that's one clarification, but the other clarification on this particular item is this. If at any time you are participating via Zoom or virtually, any time that you shut off, whether it be in open session or in closed, then you will at that point be announced that you're not present at the board meeting any longer. You may be still on the active on the voice part. That wouldn't matter unless you're seen. It's not going to count any longer. Okay, so that's just part of the clarification there. And I think as far as the practice, we've been properly practicing that already. On the next part, trustees, with your permission, on a monthly, well, I'm going to give you a monthly update, and on the next one, I'll ask your permission. I'd like to go down to the podium as well to present with my staff. On the monthly updates, intercession, it starts on September the 28th. September the 4th, we have early release. And then tomorrow, trustees, again, if you haven't mentioned to me already, right now for the morning part, the 10 to 12 and then the 12 to 2, bus tour as far as the properties. Right now, we have Ms. Garza, Mr. Martinez, and Mr. Gonzalez that will take the 10 to 12. And right now, Mr. Roldan has committed to 12 o'clock, so I still have a couple of slots open for the 12 to 2 o'clock. I don't think it's going to take 2 hours. but it just gives us that extra time. So again, for anyone who has not signed up, please let me know and I'll sign you up for the 12 to 2 time slot. And then some great news, really good news, and it's not official until we get the paper finally signed. Mr. Bonilla informed me this morning that now we did get approved for the JET grant. If you remember that, there's a little bit while back, but we haven't got the final amount. So now the final amount has been approved. Now we just need to go through the proper process before we can really start to take action on it. And that is in the amount of $322,000 as we requested. So that'll be for the supplies and equipment for a welding lab that's coming in the future. And then of course, again, strategically trustees, with all of your support, we also had the funding through ESSER that's also going to help us out with the facility component of it. So hand in hand, guess what our kids will have by next school year? They'll have a welding lab here. We'll serve as a hub, and we'll be the leaders of leaders in creating another opportunity for our kids, but not only our kids, but for surrounding districts as well. So we're super excited about that.
So no more busing from here?
Not for welding. No, and this year we have 29 welders, so there's a high interest. And I've already been talking to superintendents around us, because they'll be able to actually walk away with the certification because we're gonna have the instructor here with us. So it's just an exciting time for our school district. All right, trustees, if you don't mind again, then I'd like to proceed to the podium, and the next part is presentation of current enrollment and 88 updates.
Go back to you, sir.
I will. Principals? All right, trustees, just wanted to be able to present with the team because everything that we're doing right now is a team effort to make sure that we know, again, that as we work with every single child, as we get to know them even more by name and by need, and really identify not only the academic needs in a classroom setting, but also their home needs and everything that they need to make sure that they're successful, but also that they're coming in and being in school and taking the seat. So today what we wanted to do is give you a preliminary update as far as where we are. Now, by September the 24th, that's a big day because at that point what happens is that any student that's a no-show, any student that is not in our seat, we have to be able to account for, because if not, at the secondary level, anywhere from 7th grade, not 6th grade, but 7th grade up to as a senior, they could be a potential dropout for us. So this is a very high urgency level of urgency item for us, because we're definitely, as we even continue to combat with COVID, we need to continue pushing to the very end. If it's 5 o'clock on Fridays, we're gonna be pushing to 5 o'clock on Friday to make sure we try to recover as many of our students as possible. But this is also, as a team, as a whole, as a board, and as a school district with everyone, we have to know the reality of where we are today, but we also want to share what we're doing about it and continue to push until the very end. So there's a couple things that I want to clarify before, and that's really just more of the vocabulary that we're working with here and trying to, before I go into deeper in the presentation. There's two things that we're looking at. Number one, we're looking at enrollment, and enrollment is basically looking at what was projected. Remember, that's how we based our projection based on trends, that's how we base our budget. And then we also look at our actual. So when you combine your projected and your actual, you start to look at what we should be targeting as far as enrollment is concerned. And remember, our target range was 2,509 based on our trend. The second part of what we're looking at today, as it pertains to enrollment, is going to be our no-shows and potential dropouts. So again, the lesson within this, and I say lesson because it's not only here in our conversation, but also to our community that's listening in, potential dropouts, I say potential because we still have basically school days starting with tomorrow. We have 6 full school days, but that doesn't mean that our staff has not been out on Saturdays also doing the work that needs to be done at this point. So really 6 days instructionally, but 7 days if we count Saturday. So now what I'd like to do today is again going back to our enrollment breakdown. That's basically our returning students is something important to take in consideration. We will have enrollment as a whole, but when we start looking at accountability, what we have to take into consideration is which are our students that were here last year with us, that returned this year, those are the ones that we start to look at as far as accountability, and especially from 7th to 12th grade. And then based on the projected increase, again, that's the combination of any kids that we may have gained, and that all equals up to the projected enrollment. And remember, projected was 2,509, that's our baseline that we're targeting from. So you'll see from day one, we started off at 2,053 students. So the first day of school, August 11th, 2,053 students. And you'll notice here the linear line that goes across, you see where that trajectory, and we always say that those first 2 weeks of school, you're gonna have the biggest gain as far as students. They may not all show up on the first day, but you're going to start to see them showing up gradually. And then you'll start to notice it starts to plateau. Even though it's still increasing, it slows down. After the 2 weeks, it starts to slow down as far as, that's where we start to really start to continue to recapture those students that have not showed up, that we expected to show up, that were based on our previous year enrollment. So basically, when we look at it that way, how many of our students that were not seniors and that were not potential pre-K 3s coming in, right, on the other end, how many of them actually, so that's our juniors, how many all came back? Those are the ones that belong to us, those are the ones we want to make sure we have, because that comes back to accountability. So now, what this chart does, it shows you a couple of things. Number one, and just if you just go along with me on this particular piece. This is a projected enrollment. We said 766 at the high school, 14 at Crossroads, Seal 566, San Pedro 219, 318 Lot Speech, and then 626 for the projections. As of day one, you notice where we were, where we started off. Okay, that's the first day of school, which brought us to 2,053, but we needed to catch up to 2,509, right? So, but as of today, this is where we are. So, 730, oh, excuse me, as of yesterday, 730, 17, and you see what we're doing here, 533, 236 compared. Now, what happened here? Yeah, I mean, we're surplus. So let's just jump to this area. So the difference between this and this, according to this, I'm in enrollment. Now remember, enrollment's not only our students from last year, it's what? Any potential new students that also came in, but the ones from last year, those are the ones we have to pay attention to. Not the seniors that graduated, and not the pre-K, potential pre-K 3s that coming up, or 2s that were coming up. So we identified still a difference of 36 more children at the high school. We exceeded at Crossroads with 3, although that number is gonna fluctuate to 0 because we're still trying to clear up a couple of numbers on that. 33 for Seal, that we're still short based on the projection. 17, that was a plus at San Pedro, that's over, which is great. 11 is over at Las Beach, and 36 here based on a projection. So really, it's 74, minus 74 is a magic number that we target. So from day one, though, to yesterday, we're gained 382 students. So you see a lot of difference in the movement as we start moving forward. Now, here's when it starts getting down to crunch time. Crunch time, what I mean by that is really looking at how accountability impacts our school district, but continuing to push for our students to come back, because if not, we know that they're not getting a quality education. And in our community, they need to be here in our seats every single day in front of our amazing teachers. So let's talk about that a little bit closer. Now, this is the reality of where we are right now. Now, I'm going to say this to preface. That's the number we're working with, but it may be a little bit more, a little bit less. But it's within that range. But this is the number that we're working with. So out of that, remember that 36 at the high school? The ones that we're looking at that count towards accountability are 20 more kids, potentially 3 more that we're trying to clarify. There, remember when I said about Crossroads? Even that number varied a little bit. But when I said 0 right now, but potentially 3 to 4 that we're still looking to try to figure out the clean data part on them. Seal still about 20 students. San Pedro 4. Las Beach 0. That one's completely met, and we've identified every single child. And then Driscoll, our biggest elementary, is at 27. So right now, in the ballpark estimate, we're about 72 kids, potentially 7 more children, which would be 79. So those are some numbers that we're still trying to clarify there. Now, when you look at this particular one, no-shows from pre-K to 6. Remember, no-shows from pre-K to 6 basically is what's going to hit us on, based on projection, where we over-projected because these students are not there. That's why that's important on that side of it, to make sure that we try to bring them in because we know that they're not getting a quality education, they're not here with us. But they're not necessarily gonna hit us on accountability. Now, what I said earlier though, these are the ones though are gonna hit us on accountability, 7th through 12th grade, when it starts to look at dropouts. And I say potential dropouts because we're not there just yet. We still have a few days we continue pushing. But right now it's getting tighter and tighter. High school 23, Crossroads 4, Seal 13 more kids. Now what we do there, trustees, so potentially what we got is 40 that we're still trying to work with and trying to figure out exactly what's going on with these particular children. Now, there's been a big push within the group of students, and team, please jump in if I miss anything at all. This just gives you a bigger scope. You know, when you look at it, and when you look at it as eyes view, which one stands out to you as a big one? 9th grade. It took a big piece of that pie, didn't it? So 9th grade's a big target area for us. But then look at this one. 2nd grade's also a big target area for us. Look at this one, 7th grade. So that just allows us with another visual as we're all working together is where our big target zones where we need to make sure that we don't let off, really what I always tell them, let off the pedal at this point because we got to keep pushing. So these are some leading questions though, trustees, that I would ask myself, my team asks themselves, and I'm sure you would want to ask this too. So how many students out of the group of kids that we're talking about, how many students are being homeschooled? So at this point, our homeschool number is what?
District-wide, it's 129, sir.
129. Now, again, we need to continue going back and verify, but that means that we have 129 papers of students that parents signed off on to say, I'm homeschooling my child. We're still gonna verify the numbers. Again, we're still cleaning up every single day, but that's the number that we're looking at right now that we're being homeschooled. As of yesterday. And so that's within a range. Now, even that number, compared to what we're looking at today, that's a little off. So what that tells me is that there's still some cleaning up that we have to look at on the final number. Now, remember, some of those kids may not be, though, the students that we counted from last year. Remember, there's a difference from the total enrollment compared to those that are gonna hurt us on accountability. Because that number is gonna be lower as far as, not the whole full 129 district-wide, but those for accountability purposes is gonna be much, much lower. But those we have to target. We have to know where they're gonna be. Now, how many moved to another district?
78.
So 78 out of the group. Again, looking at it two ways. One could have been that there were our kids last year, but at the same time, it could have been, again, counting even other students that may have started with us or not.
Correction, I misspoke. It's 129 other districts, 78 homeschools.
Okay, I thought it was, okay.
Yes,
So let me clarify that.
yes.
That makes a lot more sense to me.
Yes, sorry.
78 homeschool that we
So we have
verified
78
with letters,
We have
correct.
78 letters.
Yeah, and it makes sense on the numbers, and I'll tell you that, let's just round that up to 80, roughly, okay? That's, when I'm gonna go backwards on this presentation, Eric, that was scaring me right there.
Sorry,
That wasn't making sense to me.
I think the 129 is.
You see how close that is to this number here? That's that 74 that we saw potential enrollment, again, from last year, and even some new ones. Let's just pretend that that's in the 75 to 80 range. That starts to correlate more towards what we just talked about as far as about 78 homeschoolers and 129 that
Other
are
districts.
that other districts that moved away. So, and how many cannot be located? Again, that's the final question where we start to really target and finalize which ones that we knock on doors that just moved away. We cannot find. House is empty now. I mean, those are those that right now, our main goal is to try to narrow down as much as possible, knowing why or how, which leads to the first two questions. And this one's the untold one. Because that what we do, we go back to, again, identifying with other school districts. The system's called T-REX, correct? The T-REX system that allows us to search for kids in other school districts. And sometimes they may take 2-3 weeks. It just depends on how quick kids are being inputted, how quick they're being enrolled in other districts to be able to clean all this data up. What we have going against us at this point, of course, is time. Time as far as the 6 days that we have left after tomorrow, potentially 7. Recovered students, when we look at that, from the high school from day one that we needed to recover 117 to 20 no-shows, right now we've recovered a total of 97 within the group. And you see across the board, Seal, we recovered 50. Las Pizzas 13, although we're over our projected enrollment there. Driscoll 41 that were recovered. San Pedro 16. So we've recovered a total of 223 kids along the way as we've looked at it from our first day. Now again, this was presented the last time, but I just want to make sure that we go over some of the items. These are some of the efforts that when we started off with that block walk back in June 27th, knocking on doors. We had 120 households that we visited, 81 that were able to recover. So this type of thing are still the steps that we've been taking from that point and moving forward when we had that particular board meeting with our trustees. Other efforts that we, again, strategically trying to think about other ways of reaching out. Again, we use social media. We actually use the media with Channel 3 as another option. We use radio. We also we had a month's worth of the television commercials, which a lot of this were short segments, but part of it's the streaming. Like, so whenever you get your cell phone, you go to a social media site, all of a sudden you see the ads coming up. Well, based on the what's called geo-tracking, it really hones in on our family area to continue messaging as far as our school district and making sure that they knew about their enrollment and coming back. One of the other things that we're looking at as far as potential just advertising, more advertising to show the types of programs we're offering the kids, continue to market is, again, we're gonna start outfitting our buses with different forms of advertisement to, again, it's just that constant, because if we're not telling our story, it's being told for us, right? So this is just another way, something different we're gonna continue for this next school year. That was a sample of the geo-tracking that we had. Again, other samples of some of the banner and ads that were put out on social media. And that was on this particular piece. So trustees, if you have any questions, we'd like to hear from you. Anything else that you'd like to suggest? But the team is here to be able to answer some questions too, specific to their campuses.
I would like to know if you know on the 129 that were transferred, if you know what
District?
grade left, what grades,
Okay.
what grades, is it on here? Because, oh, okay, see, so in my mind, if they transferred like from high school, I think that leads me to believe as a parent that it was maybe like a bullying problem or a teacher problem or a social problem or something. Can we do a survey, sir, on, just throw it out there, and I don't know how everybody else feels, but I would like to know why they're transferring. Because there's a reason, sir, when they're little, they're
Right,
just
they're not
transferring,
much-
it's just the parents probably moving or maybe taking a chance, but when they're here this long and then transfer, that concerns me. I think that there's more out there that I would personally like to know as a board member, because we need to fix it.
Absolutely.
And how can we fix it if we don't know? And a survey is a perfect way to just throw it out there and really get some comments and some triggers and some light just shined on some maybe problems that we don't even know we have. Because we don't know everything. We don't know,
Right.
everybody in this room, we don't know everything. There's things that go down on between students that we don't know, and maybe we can help somebody, and we can
Mhm.
get some of these kids back if we just show some kind of, sympathy and concern. Because I would love to see all of them back, because they belong here. But I don't know how you feel about that, I don't know how
No,
you
that's,
feel about that, but.
it's very, it's usable data, obviously, for those that we know that left to go to another district. It doesn't hurt us to be able to find out why.
Because I don't know what other districts around us offer that we don't, and I'm being honest, I'm not just saying that because I'm from here, but I know what we offer. And I don't think anybody else offers what we offer, so there's something there, I think.
Yeah. And even going to the ones that have chosen to homeschool, the problem with homeschooling is that it's easy to say that I'm homeschooling my child, and that's why strategically what the team did, we thought about this is, look, we can't just take that they're being homeschooled, we have to have it in writing, so as they've gone out to homes, they're already taking the homeschool letter, not that we're promoting to be homeschooled, because we're promoting to come back, but if that's your hard choice that you've made at that point, then we need you to sign off here, basically letting us know that, so we have some data to back us up too, on what's happening.
Dr. Moreno, I have a question
Yes,
with
ma'am.
regards to homeschool. Now that we're on the topic, if they sign that document, so that gets them off of our dropout list, correct?
Yes, ma'am, what it
It's
does.
not gonna count against us.
Well, but it hits us on the other side on what's called the levers, and then it weighs it this way. It may not be a dropout, because it does, they take that responsibility as a parent, but then what it does on the other side is we have too many homeschoolers. So then the question comes up was why? I mean, that can lead, and it's very likely that it could lead to a desk audit by TA. It's just a normal procedure that they would follow when something doesn't seem balanced. But, you know, for us, we know it's COVID related at this point, because I can tell you, if I were to guesstimate staff, probably more than 70% of those that are saying that they're being homeschooled
Yeah,
is because they don't want to come back right now.
right, yeah, they're scared, and, I mean, of course, they wanna protect their child. And the 129 that is transferred to other districts, that again will not count against us, correct?
No, ma'am, as long as they're in the district.
In the district,
Then-
and you've already verified that they are in
Correct.
that district, okay.
Correct.
All right, great.
So when we start looking at the potential dropout component that's gonna impact us academically in our district, it's about 40. It's about 20 from the high school, it just happens to be 20 at SEAL, correct? Yeah. And those are the ones that right now, we narrow down by who they are specifically, and if we've knocked once, we're gonna knock twice, we're gonna knock 3 times to make sure that we can at least know how, you know, what else we can do for them. Now, Senate Bill 15, and we're talking about that today, I think it's already been passed, or it's about to be passed. Jessica, and this is for your information, trustees. This is where you might start to hear more of, okay, the governor approved virtual learning. Well, he approved, or they're going to approve virtual learning on SB 15, but it's very, very tight as far as the requirement. You can only provide virtual up to 10% of our student enrollment. They had to have passed STAR last year. They had to have participated over 50% last year in actual face-to-face or participating in school. So that's gonna narrow that group of students, and they have to be passing very, very, very minimum to those right now when we're targeting some of the children that we're targeting right now, that we know of and know their background. So that may help out a few, but it's not gonna help out the majority of them. And then at the same time, we have to have an additional instructor to be able to teach those children. We're gonna use every resource we can, but this is a reality of what we're working through. Basically, sir, do you mind if I use this document? 'Cause I don't have it on me. This document is just one of the tools, again, that we start to use from the very beginning. All that shows you, we did black out the names, but it just shows you where you see the yellow and you see the red that is clear. This is from that initial list, and this is just from working from the high school. And so, again, you have the data on the information on the side of the steps that we've still taken that's in white. That just shows you, again, part of our tracking system that we have with our students. Junior high has the same thing when it comes to that. Theirs looks a little bit different format, but it's the same type of concept.
Sir, what's gonna happen on September 24th?
That's by 5 o'clock that day, that's when the state basically says, okay, now we take the stamp, we acknowledge how many you have. That's where that accountability is gonna hit us.
Wow.
That's the AA account.
Yeah.
And when you say cleared, that means that they're cleared and come back?
Yeah, we've identified, we've either they're back or we've been able to identify it as a homeschool, whatever it may be at that point.
Whatever the comment is, Bertha, it's been verified.
And that's what that means, cleared.
I mean, you see that there's been definitely lots of stride, a lot of direction. It's just still not good enough for us at this point. That's what we're gonna do, whatever we need to do till 5 o'clock on that Friday.
Are you doing anything special that day, sir?
We just had 2 days, 2 days ago, where administrators would actually, they took their administrative team, they were still knocking out their on doors, almost a full day.
No, but
So-
are we having like maybe a pep rally or giving out popcorn and pickle or something? I mean, that's what I would like if I were a student. You want me to come to school? Give me popcorn and pickle. No, really, I just wanna know what are you doing anything
Well,
special that day?
The snapshot date in October, that's like really when it's gonna count to say, hey, everybody, let's be in school exactly. That's for our current students coming in.
And it's a
This,
Friday? Is it a Friday, you said? It's a last Friday.
the,
I think I have a pep rally planned, it's the 24th.
It's September 24th, correct?
Yes, so we have one.
So that's a Friday.
No,
That's
September
what we're talking about.
24th is not for snapshot, that's in.
No,
No.
it's the day that we're targeting for.
Oh, okay,
recovery.
got it.
yes, so recovery part, we're still gonna move forward. Now, the big celebration day that we say, we gotta catch every single child is snapshot day, which is in October, end of October. That's normally when you get a big hurrah just to really make sure, cause all those kids are gonna count for that day. And that's all, again, the last Friday of October, correct?
Yes, yeah.
That's Friday. 29. I don't have any more questions, sir. I don't know if anyone else does.
I'm good.
I appreciate your efforts, everybody, thank you so much.
I don't want to put Mr. Nino on the spot, but just because I was on her team. Did you have to go back a second time for any of those houses that we did see?
We did, we actually
Because
did.
I know she kind of drilled them like, I'm gonna come back, and I'm, yes, ma'am.
We did, and I'd like to say that the ones that we targeted to said, all of them came back except for the exception of one. And, it's concerning, because the ones that I'm really, really concerned about are like the ones we can't lay eyes on. Like, we haven't made parent contact, we haven't seen the child, so those are the most, to me, that's like, okay, where are they? You know, and who has seen them, and Anissa and I have knocked on the door at housing, we've asked to speak to housing managers, and, where did they go? Like, where did they go? But for the most part, we have gotten into contact with the majority of our parents, and, in that whole homeschool doesn't sit well with me or any of the team.
I know.
We even talked about today, we talked to Dr. Moreno about, adding that to our attendance committee, like the line item, just homeschoolers, and who's gonna follow up with them? Hi, Miss, Garza, just wanted to check on your son, I know that you have him on Becca homeschooling, is there anything that we can support? We can't lose that leverage, because one, we're not 100% sure that they are online.
That's
We're
right.
taking their word. And second, maybe one day these babies are gonna come back, and at what deficit?
That's right.
Does the state at all,
Dr. Moreno, can you let the board know what you let me know earlier about the requirements to return after homeschool?
Yeah, to return, basically, a child could, or a family could say that they're homeschooling their child, but there's gonna be criteria when they come back that doesn't guarantee that they're gonna be passed on to the next grade level. Because they'll have back an entry exam to come back to see where they're at. There's still gonna be requirements as far as did they get any assignments, anything that was based on their homeschool program. If it's an online, like a K-12, or if it's a Becca or something like that, it's a little bit more structured. There's verification to say, okay, bring some of the work, or bring some of the sample, how'd you do on your assessments, things like that. But, I hate to say it, I can almost assure you that the majority of our students are not there. They're not getting that day-to-day instructional piece, and that's where they fall back. So even after the snapshot date, or even after the September 24th, it's still gonna be our responsibility to continue trying to knock on their door to get them to come back. Right now, the good thing is, knock on wood, it looks like the past few days, the numbers are starting, the positivity rate is starting to decrease gradually. I think we've had 2 days in the 100 range versus 3 and 400 range. So, I think statistically, it's on its way down. Hopefully that'll start to bring a little bit more, just confidence in sending their children back. I know we're doing everything we can as a school district. I even passed a resolution, on the mask mandate, and, it's one of those things that, we're taking some hard steps as a team of 8, as a school district, even knowing that the mandate is, not the direction that the state is going, but our kids are important, our families are important, and we're gonna do whatever we need to do.
So the spike of homeschool, sir, is the reason due to COVID, correct?
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
So I, as a mom, I'm not gonna say I support it because my son's in school, but I understand why the homeschooling. Are we still very hard on sanitizing, washing hands,
That's right.
wearing masks?
Yeah, ma'am.
Because I don't want it to become a non-priority just because there's a mandate.
No, that's our day-to-day operations. And when you look at the numbers, at least the numbers I'm able to attain or that we in colleagues, I'll tell you what, as a school district, I think now we're at 140?
141.
141 as a school district from the first day of school. And I know that sounds like a lot, and I wish it was,
Zero.
half that, 0. But I can tell you, compared to other school districts that are not taking the steps that we're taking, they're 2, 3, or 4 times higher.
What number is that, sir? I'm sorry.
141 since the first day of school with students and staff. Yeah, and a lot of it's because, we internally, with our testing, and again, we all applaud our nurses because they go above and beyond to do that. It's hard work for them. But that helps to mitigate the spread.
That's right.
Because we're doing rapid testing in our schools. I can't tell you how many of I thought a lot of my colleagues were actually already doing rapid testing. That wasn't the case. Like, because it was pushed again, that you could start to order, a lot of new school districts barely starting that step. So that just helps us mitigate the continuous spread, catch it early.
And being still very COVID, let's do all these
Mhm.
steps, the sanitizing, the cleaning, the
Yes,
air purifier, aren't you doing that now?
we're looking at that as well.
Because we have to earn these parents' trust that we are doing all those, because if not, they're never gonna come back.
Correct.
I wouldn't bring my son back custodians. I believe that we're doing everything we can, but we just need to gain their trust. If not, we're not gonna see them anymore. So I just wanna make sure we're still sanitizing and providing everything we can.
And that's part of our plan, and we're about to post our continuity plan. Now, we did all the whole piece with the, as far as the safety component to start off the school year, and we have that presentation, but we're also gonna add, make sure that we have enough of the academic to ensure that it's a continuity plan that has to be reported to the state under ESER.
Now that Ms. Gaddis was mentioning about the sanitary, I personally want to commend Ms. Chavez at junior high. I went to go have lunch yesterday. I'm a little lost. Right, I mean, it was just awesome. As soon as the kids got up, I mean, the custodians were, it was, and you know, I kind of went through the line, and I myself to commend the cafeteria staff as well. I picked up my tray, and sir, you didn't see that bottle there? Sorry. So I had to sanitize my hands before you grab it. So, I mean, that was very, you know, I have nieces and cousins at the junior high, and I'm speaking from what I saw. I mean, I'm sure all the campuses are doing it as well, but that was very comforting to me, knowing that, you know, as soon as they got up, I mean, the custodians were behind me spraying down the chairs, and another kid came in, you know, kind of sat. So that kind of was comforting to me, you know, that they were doing that. So kudos to the cafeteria staff and to that. So.
Yeah, it really does, but the simple fact of, the simple concept that we all implemented and committed to, the simple thing of sanitizing in, sanitizing out, something so simple and memorable, but it starts to take shape in our school district. You know, that's just one baby step. We're gonna keep pushing, trustees, and we're gonna try to get that number down. I told them, what's it gonna take by Monday? How do we get that as a goal? We always have to have a goal to know that we're striving for. That way, each campus has to respond to how many do I need to contribute to reach that goal. We said 40. So that's our high goal for Monday, to say, how do we get it down to 40? So they each have to, at their specific campus, how much do they need to contribute to it, to get that number?
The kids that have not been located, Mr. Gonzalez, you said there was a number, right?
70.
What was the number? That have not been located?
That have not been located,
I don't think we shared that number,
We don't.
because we have, most of them are 78 were the no-shows, and, 78 were the homeschool, and 129 were the ones that transferred out.
yeah.
So right now, we're crunching to get that final.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your efforts.
So, that they will send them, or we're thinking about it, and we go knock again the next day and go on, it's like, what did you decide? Well, we need you in, we're running out of time. So I think we've all done that, but we go over and over and over again, so.
But there is a number of the ones that haven't been able to get contacted. So
Correct, sir.
Yes, sir. But we don't have that number.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
I
That
thought it was
specific
one,
number.
actually two, that they told us they were going to a certain school district, we've been verifying all week, and they're not where they said they were. But the rest, we've been making contact, so for me, it's two.
Why don't we just go down the line? High
For
school,
me, it's 2.
junior high,
Mine's two.
let me see,
Robert Driscoll?
Driscoll,
7?
at 0 contact. Whoever had 4, but she's already contacted her 4.
Yeah, so
Her lot speech is already exceeded.
This is no contract with them.
Yeah, no contact whatsoever.
So you can see that's a lot more narrow because, I mean, we've been out there pushing, so.
And we've gone out to the post office, asked, you know, we kind of pushed a little bit, we needed our tags. Asked the postmaster general if they could give us 14 addresses, and we were a little reluctant, but, you know, he did. Well, actually, they didn't have 14 addresses. So we're doing everything we can to find these students.
I think, can I say something?
Of course.
One of the home visits that I did go and I was able to get a hold of somebody, uncle told me that the child was there. And I said, well, we need it in school. And he said, well, because of COVID and he had sniffles and and I said, well, I really need to speak to the grandma because I've been trying to get a hold of her. We've come before, we're not making contact. So I'm personally here to extend to you that, you know, if you're homeschooling, we need to know. Because we want to guarantee and make sure that he's, you know, learning. So he assured me that she would call me tomorrow. They're avoiding us is what's happening. The other two told me they were being homeschooled. The one I cannot get a hold of, and they had their dogs right there, so I was not able to make contact with that one. But they don't return our calls, they block our calls, and, these are little ones, and, you know, we wish we could bring them back to school. But they're saying they're afraid of COVID. They really are afraid of it. And like you said, you know, we wish it could be different, but, you know, we're doing our best at our end. Just kind of saying that, but it's just, it's difficult when you go out there but we're gonna do it again tomorrow, and we'll do it again on Monday, to make sure they do come in.
And that kind of puts back what Ms. Garza said, that at that age, I think it's the parent.
It's the parents. And maybe they'll say, ya no quiero ver a esa vieja, you
Well, I
know?
appreciate the effort, because it really does take an army.
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's just keep trucking,
Yes.
keep
We
trying,
gotta keep moving forward.
because our schools miss our kids.
Just to brag on our elementary principals, Mr. Gomez and also Ms. Plata, they both did home visits before this meeting tonight.
Yes,
Good.
Dr. Moreno said, so get up. Sorry, gotta leave a meeting. No, I'm just kidding, he didn't. But, you know, we do the home visits, but you know what? Let me go. I'm gonna go, the counselor went, the assistant principal, the nurse, you know, so let me go. And have that conversation, you know, maybe, you know, get a hold of someone. So next I'm sending Dr. Moreno.
I know his number.
But you know what, it really makes that, I think it makes that difference, and sometimes you feel that you have to do it, and you have to go because it's a part of you, and this district is a part of all of us. So we want them to know, if you're homeschooling, you're doing online, we just wanna make sure your child gets educated, that's all we want. We want what's best for your child.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I just want to commend y'all for doing hard work. God have mercy on us with all this is going on, it's so uncertainty out there. I just want to say, be safe. You know, wear your mask, stay there, and be careful. And look at all of us, we all have a mask on, babe.
You
Except
don't.
me, you know, but it's a tough time in the world. And there's a lot of sickness going on. I just found out a family today that, sorry, but it's related to Vanessa, his uncle and his grandma. Within 3 months, the whole family passed away, you know, of COVID. It's not that easy. And I understand, be careful when you go and just, you know, I don't want to say about fear or anything, but get in the hands of God before that whole event, because if we're dealing with another.
One example, Doc, real quick, is I approached the lady, she goes, no, we're positive, like, her two daughters were like, no, we're positive, and like, all of a sudden, it's like, it hits you a little bit, so she did warn me though, no, we're positive. So we did take a step back from the end,
And you want to say that one of the home visits that I went on, we left a little card, please call me, and I put my email and phone number, and then I put a little call me, Mr. Bennett. And, there was a K-12 box, and I was super talking about.
The K-12 is an online system, online program.
You know, I was told by my sister's a teacher, and she said, when you're an educator, it's for 50% pay and 50% kids. But I think that that's wrong. I think it's 100% kids. So thank you honestly for all you do. I know that it's a challenge. As a mom, I try to lead by example. I try to make sure my kids are on time, so it's tough. And I commend you all for everything you're doing. Thank you very much. But don't give up.
No, we're not.
Don't give up.
We're going out tomorrow, actually, high school, we're going back out there again.
Stay safe.
Thank you, everybody. I believe we're on Easter.
Yes, ma'am. So at this point, I'd like to bring Ms. McCombs up. This is one of our initiatives, but because the best thing that we can do is try to continue to move forward academically for our kids. We all know that the foundation of everything we do is literacy and reading. So we have a new initiative that we're calling Rocktown Reads, that we're gonna start to see a lot of promotion with, and really that's Power Up with Reading. So Ms. McCombs, you know, being basically over all of our librarians in our school district, helped to spearhead this initiative. And it's using a program we're already using, but it's how we're tracking our kids, recognizing our kids for the amount of reading that they're doing. And that'll be step one, just for having literacy as something fun, you know, something that's enjoyable to become lifelong readers.
Good evening. As Dr. Moreno just said, our new literacy initiative, Rocktown Reads, Power Up with Reading. The program that we're using with it is Beanstack, and Beanstack is all about creating a culture of reading. It is the program that we put in place to take place of the accelerated reader program that, school districts use for years and years. What's great about Beanstack, besides all of the different tracking options and ways to create challenges, is it's really about free choice reading. It's putting that love of reading back into the students' hands where they really get to decide what type of books they want to read. They're not just being put into a kind of a box based on grade level or, that sort of thing. With Beanstack, we have 6-week challenges. So students are going to participate in challenges that occur every 6 weeks. They're logging their minutes read, they're completing book reviews, they're doing other activities to earn basically virtual badges and rewards from the library. All of the Beanstack activities that they complete are integrated with all of our Google and other interactive apps like Pear Deck. So all of the technology that teachers are using in the classroom, we're also able to incorporate into this. And then another great thing is teachers can also log minutes read as a whole for their class when they're doing read alouds and that sort of thing. This is a little bit more detailed on the 6-week challenges. It lets you know exactly what theme is going through. We went through and really planned out everything. We looked at every date for the entire school year so that we could have that plan in place and know exactly what's coming up. So throughout the 6 weeks, students receive prizes for logging their books, their minutes read. And so each badge that they earn, they receive a certain reward. And the 6 weeks challenges, the rewards are set by the librarians on their campus. At the end of each 6 weeks, the librarian will have a celebration for all students who have completed that challenge. Then we have our year-long Beanstack Challenge. And this is the Robstown Reads Power Up with Reading. The description I created for it is Robstown ISD is ready to power up with reading. Log your reading minutes to earn badges and prizes all year long. Will you soar to new heights and use your superpowers to help your campus be the #1 readers in Robstown ISD? So students and staff have from September 1st through May 6th to earn all the minutes logged badges in this challenge. The good news is that as they're logging minutes during each 6 weeks challenge, it also counts towards a year long. So it's not double duty. They're earning a lot as they go along with it. And one thing I really love about the year long is that it includes staff. Our staff on all the campuses, all of our teachers, custodian, everybody has the option to go in and log minutes read so that the students are seeing the teachers logging minutes and, that kind of mentorship, that leading by example on there. The year-long challenge has 15 total logging badges to be earned for a total of 3,000 minutes logged. Students earn prizes for each badge, such as brand new books, they're getting t-shirts, tote bags, board games. We do have pickle and popcorn is one of the prizes on there. Ice cream floats are on there. There's all sorts of things. They also do receive a certificate for each badge that they earn. And then the librarians give out prizes for the new badges earned every 3 weeks. So every 3 weeks, we have all the dates there. Those are the dates that the librarians will be calling the students in for the year-long challenge. And you've earned these 2 badges. Here's your pickle and popcorn. You get 30 minutes of board game play on this day, all of those sort of things. But in between each of those 3 weeks, they're still giving out all of the rewards for the 6-week challenges. So the students are earning rewards and things pretty much every single week. And then we have our Superintendent Super Readers Club. So the students have a chance to earn to be a part of the Superintendent Super Readers Club every 6 weeks. They have to read, log 500 minutes read every 6 weeks to become a part of that group. When they do become a part of it, they do receive a t-shirt, some other goodies, and they're gonna attend a lunch with Dr. Moreno. And so we'll have that lunch sometime during the week after the end of each 6 weeks. So we can identify all of those students.
Wow, you're the grand prize.
Some other promotions we're doing with this initiative is every Friday, starting next week, the campus librarians are gonna make announcements on the morning announcements of each grade level's top readers. So, the kids in the school, the staff are hearing it. They get excited, they want their name, especially the little ones, they want to hear their name called out on the announcements. The 15 badges for the year-long challenge are being made poster size and they're gonna be hung around every school. so that as students complete, their name's gonna go up on the wall next to that badge. So as you're walking the halls in every single campus, you're filled with the literacy around you. The badges, the students' names, you know, they wanna see their name up on the wall, just like they wanna hear it on the announcements. The books students write reviews on, the cover of the book will be printed out and the student's book review will be posted with it all around the school. So they're getting that exposure everywhere they go, you know. I know we're gonna be hanging them at the high school in the bathrooms as well, you know, things of that sort, just because, you know, we want them to have that exposure constantly.
I love this idea. Did you think of this?
Yes, myself and Dr. Moreno, we kind of bounce ideas off each other back and
Good
forth
job.
with it. We're gonna be doing shout outs.
I gotta read it, I gotta read.
We'll be doing shout outs on campus Facebook pages every 2 weeks with the top classroom minutes logged. That way it gets more of the community, the parents are seeing it a lot more. And then at the end of each 6 weeks, a trophy will be presented to the campus with the most total minutes logged for that 6 weeks. And they'll get to display it over the course of the next 6 weeks.
There you go. Wow.
And then our current Bean Stack stats. We started this, introducing it to the students of our challenges and everything, about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. The elementaries have had a little bit slower of a start just because we've been working on, they had to take a week out of their library time to work on the Ortiz library so we could get those books over. But right now, our campus total minutes read, you can see here, Robert Driscoll is at 3,579 minutes read, that's total for the campus. Lots Beach is 5,715, San Pedro's 3,044, Seal Junior High is 8,830, and the high school, is surprising to me, is at 16,142 minutes read.
Wow.
So our year-end goal is 6 million minutes read for the entire district, and so currently we're already at 37,310 minutes in just about 2 weeks. So they really have grasped it and gotten onto it. And then the total badges earned, Robert Driscoll is earned 1,147 virtual badges, Lots Beach 622, San Pedro 457, Seal 1,158, and the high school 3,164. So our year-end goal is 220,000 virtual badges earned throughout the district, and we're currently at 6,548 badges. So they've definitely started off and they're headed in the right direction. I know at the high school, I have 7 students that have already completed the first 6 weeks challenge, have already got their over 500 minutes. They're gonna be going to the superintendent super reader club, you know, for celebration. And I've got probably about 30 more I know that are almost right there. So it's definitely showing, you know.
Wow. Feed them good, sir.
Yeah, we
Feed
will.
them good. Get extra pickles, because we don't get extra pickles. I'm never gonna let that go away.
Yeah, you know, the big thing though, trustees, and when you look at it, it's data, it's connected to numbers, it's connected to data, it's connected, and that creates motivation. It's like you create the small win-win, and then it creates a challenge. Like, I'm gonna give the other 2 elementary schools a challenge, because Lots Beach is already ahead at 5,715, but it's a good way to inspire, to say, hey, Driscoll's not gonna let that happen, and nor is San Pedro gonna let that happen, right? Because in the friendly competition, it just makes, the kids are gonna benefit from the most, and that's the love of reading. So we wanna thank you and all the librarians for your efforts, and do you have any other questions for us?
I was gonna say the junior high, one thing I love is the Avid teacher at the junior high reached out to me about with Bean Stack, and so she has already implemented Bean Stack Thursdays in our Avid class of getting them going on reading. And so they spend about half the class period on Thursdays in their Avid class reading, and she sent me pictures, and they are truly reading. I mean, she's letting them lay on the floor if they wanna lay on the floor, be comfortable reading, but some are reading physical books, some are using our audio ebook program, Sora, that we have, and they're reading through that, but you can see, I mean, they are truly doing it. She sent me probably about 30 different pictures of it today, which I just love, because, you know, she's taken it, the training that she got from us, and has run with it now in her classroom.
I love this idea, thank you.
I have a comment from Ms. Lorena Ceballos, you approve?
I approve.
I see you smiling over there, I said, oh my God.
And it
Good
just-
future.
Yeah, and I just wanna share something real quick on how it just, what she has done with this whole thing with reading, and now we have, you know, a group of girls that I sent her way that wanna start a reading club. you know, Miss, can we start a reading club? And then I started thinking, okay, Mr. Teeger, he just told me that he wanted to open a little muffins in the morning with iced coffee, and I'm thinking, okay, reading club in the morning in the library, we eat muffins and iced coffee, and we're talking books. So it's really putting that together and working together as a team and getting more kids into the cafeteria to eat their breakfast. So it's just.
And it could connect to somebody.
Yes.
There's a connection to every student.
Yes.
Oh, yes, it is.
The possibilities are endless.
We have the librarians have other things planned. We do have our fall family literacy night that'll be coming up in October, and it's gonna be another drive-through event, but the students will get books there and all sorts of other things. We'll have one in the spring as well, and then the campus librarians are planning on-campus other events, like a blind date with a book. They're gonna do a book swap, character parades, all sorts of things to continue that promotion and, you know, having them be a little bit more hands-on and active and do some more fun things with literacy.
Just curious, why is it a drive-through again? Just curious. COVID?
We found we had a huge turnout this last year. A lot of it is COVID and with the amount of people in the building, but we had a huge turnout. We had over 500 vehicles come through our last drive-through event, and the comments from the parents was, I love it. I get out of work, I can go pick up my kids, we come through, we get all of this stuff, we go home, we pick up dinner, we go home, and we look at everything, we talk about the books, and, you know, it's that they're not having to come into the school and spend another hour and a half, 2 hours doing things of that sort with it. I think it's the ease of it for them.
Yes, I just had a question.
Mhm.
You mentioned that surprisingly, the high school was that high. Why is that?
We find the trend normally is that starting at about junior high, about 6th, 7th grade, students tend to start not reading, and they get involved with so many more activities, especially high school. They, you know, are band and athletics, there's interact, there's all sorts of things going on, and especially for our high school because we offer so many other programs. And so we just see that decline in reading. And so that's why it's surprising, you know, that they have logged so many minutes. I think part of it too, though, is they came and asked, they're like, you know, I'm doing a lot of reading for my dual credit English class. I'm having to read this textbook and go through, count it, you can log those minutes. You know, I understand that that may not be a personal book of enjoyment that you chose to read, but you are still sitting and reading. You're doing that, you're having to comprehend that information. And so they realized how much more reading they really do, because they put it all in a box of, it must be a book for just enjoyment or, you know, just a lay beach read kind of thing, and it's not always just that. So
I guess we gave them a little bit more tools or encouragement?
Yes, we have a lot more tools, and with when we got Sora last year, our audiobook and ebook program subscription, that has helped increase it, because now they have that app on their phone, they can do it on their laptop, and they can listen to audiobooks in the car. Some tell me they do it while they're doing chores at home, that sort of a thing, and they've got access constantly for it. And we partnered with Keach Library as well with Sora, so not only do they have access to what we purchase, they have access to everything Keach Library purchases as well.
I was just gonna say, you know, I really like the fact that the recognition, you know, that the students feel whenever they get awarded, the smallest award to the superintendent award. You know, those recognitions brought back another thought that I had, and this is totally on the other side of it, but I was just looking and thinking, I mean, we're on recognitions, we haven't had recognitions today or in the last board meeting. I mean, that's just something that
We miss.
Yes.
We want to see our kids here.
Our student of the month, how we did that. Do we have a student of the month for August yet?
We don't have student of the month.
Do we have a Proudy or Picker award for August? We do?
We'll phase it in.
So, I mean, those are just recognitions, again, employee recognitions, student recognitions, group recognitions. It's just some thoughts that I just got off of, came off of Ms. McComb's PowerPoint. You know, that's what our kids like, that's what our employees like. You know, to be recognized for the hard work, dedication they're doing, the commitment to whatever program, or just to come into school. You know, those are other motivators of getting them to want to come back. And again, just a lot of thoughts just running. I have all these notes, but you know, I'm gonna throw some stuff out
Thank you for
here.
the trigger, Ms.
Glad I could help.
You know, when you saw me on my phone, I was actually looking to make sure that link, probably your Picker nomination, is still up there. It is. So I just went up there just to go check. Just so yes. Just to clarify, says that. Yes,
I love this, thank you. I was gonna say, I challenged the board, but I'm part of the board. I'm busy. So, no.
I know, I wanna talk to
Would you
the
like to reading at our
administrators to see
conference?
what we can do for some incentives for the staff, just to get the staff on board and going with it. I mean, I do a lot of my own personal, I do gift cards for the staff or just reading my library newsletter that I send out every 6 weeks, just to get them to actually do that, because sometimes it's easy to click that email away. So I do gift cards through there, so I'm trying to think what we can do to get the staff on board and have kind of a challenge just between staff to see which staff members can log the most minutes.
Good.
So just for clarification, so everybody could see, like all the kids could see if there's certain teachers, administrators, or whoever's reading?
No, they can't see what they've logged. I did contact, our Bean Stack rep, to see about getting the tracker number on the landing page, so when they go to log in, they can see in real time, basically that tracker, that clicker of the minutes read going up every time people are logging. Just so that that'll create that excitement. They can see it and see that total number, constantly changing and moving up, and they wanna add to it to make it go up.
Thank you.
Wanna throw an idea over there from Mr. Arminio. Mr. Arminio, Starbucks in high school.
Starbucks, we're gonna be close, right? Mr.
Smart Snack approved, Smart Snack approved.
He's done a fabulous job.
Thank you, Ms. McComb.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, trustees, and we have Mr. Teeger, and we're just proud that, Mr. Teeger coming in with SFP. We didn't necessarily remind him that, we have a board meeting, he reminded us, I'm gonna present, right? Yeah. So, it just shows that there's a strong partnership and they're doing a fabulous job. If you keep up with the website, everything they're doing with it, it's social media. I love to see, I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago where our kids now are actually having class on food nutrition, and that's, what more do we want? So, we'll go ahead and, I don't want to do your whole presentation.
Samples?
Not here, not here.
Well, he asked what more do we want, I said samples.
Well, good evening, Madam President, Dr. Meadow, board, trustees. So we've only been in school for about a month, and of course we still, are firing on all cylinders. So today, just present you guys what we've done so far, and then kind of what we're going to do moving forward. So the very first thing, which I think we just talked about a little bit. So we actually had our very first roving chef, and what the roving chef is, it's a cooking class. It's a cooking class that consists of typically 8 to 10 students. These students are selected based off any criteria that the building principal would like to select the students. So it can be either good behavior, improved grades, perfect attendance. I leave it up to the building principal to really just pick the students how they want to pick. And as far as the grade levels, it can be the same grade, it can be different grades. But the very first one we had was actually at Lots Beach Elementary. So kind of during the actual roving chef day, the 8 to 10 students, they come down to the cafeteria, and they're actually able to design their own chef hat. So we had stickers, we had markers, so they're able to kind of just design their chef hat as they wanted to. And before we actually get started in the cooking aspect of the cooking class, they actually take a little tour. So if you see at the very the bottom picture, they're taking a little tour of Lots Beach of the kitchen. So we show them the cooler, they get to walk in the cooler a little bit, experience how cold it is. They learn a little bit as far as how the product's stored, the cooler versus the freezer. They walk in the freezer, it's not that cold, and just wait a little bit of the cold. So they tour the kitchen. Then after they're done touring the kitchen, they come and they sit down, and that's when Chef Nicole brings out the ingredients. So they're given recipe cards, but they actually necessarily don't have to follow the recipe cards. We just like to provide them the recipe cards so they can take home after the roving chef class in case they want to replicate what they made during the roving chef class. So we had kind of a wide variety of pizzas. We had just cheese pizza, pepperoni, and there's even a pineapple pizza, which I know can be kind of a touchy subject as far as pineapples, do they belong on the pizza? So really we like to just let the students express themselves either through their chef hats and their pizzas. So at the very end of the actual roving chef class, which typically lasts anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, is they actually get certificates. So you see right there, the first 3 pictures are the students who are, some of the students that participated, so they get their own certificates. It has their name on it, has a signature that they officially graduated from the roving chef class. Then the 2 pictures on the right are actually the completed, probably the best part, a lot of students would say, they actually get to try what they make. So they don't get to just make it and then go to the side. They actually, they get to try what they make. So at the very end of the class, you get to try their pizza, typically, I think there's a lot of 8s and 9s out of 10s, and there's a few 10s. So they really like what they made. So at the very end of it, they get to take home the chef hat, their certificate, and their certificate. So that's the first one. Hopefully on Mini, our goal is to have at least one roving chef class a month at each elementary. And kind of go from there. So roving chef. And then, so kind of the big transition we made was instead of offering breakfast in the classroom at the high school, we needed to mix it up. So we started having the students come to the line. So in the pictures on the right is we have the homemade kolaches, we have the strawberry parfaits, and then we have, to my knowledge, something that was brand new. It's called a country breakfast bowl. So it's hash browns, beef crumbles, scrambled eggs, with a choice of pepper gravy on top and a toast. And in addition to that, they also get their juice, their apple, and their milk. So, and then.
Trustee, let me know and we'll have breakfast.
Okay.
Oh, was that on the menu?
And then also, on the left, I wanted to show as far as the options that the high schools have. So, and that's just one of the options they have, as far as the country breakfast bowl. So they also have the cereals, which we typically rotate some different cereals out. Then we have the parfaits, or then we also have whole grain donuts. So just more options for the students to get them excited. Typically, junior high and high school is a little harder for them to eat the breakfast, so we want to try to entice them with as far as either the hot options or multiple options. So that's one of the things we're doing at the high school. And I know Mr. Trevino briefly spoke about it. We're looking into potentially having iced coffee at the high school. It's Smart Stack approved. So we don't have to worry about that. And then making one of the lines is like kind of a grab and go bakery. So just trying to get more students in. And then another idea we're kind of running by is having a grab and go cart. Because right now there's only one location for the students to get the breakfast, that's in the cafeteria. We do understand once we took away BIC accessibility, instead of going to the classroom, they have to come to it. So kind of the one way to mitigate some of the meals lost is actually have a grab and go cart. So we would place that in a high traffic area. Typically it's the student drop off area where they fill up the buses. So anything from like smoothies, parfaits, anything you can kind of just grab, the student can just grab and go off to wherever they hang out with their friends or anything. So it's just one more option to try to make sure we capture as many students as we can. So, okay. And then we had another taste testing at Steele Junior High. This was actually the Philly chicken cheesesteak with smoky cheddar sauce. So I think this was either last week or the week before. We got Chef Nicole. She's preparing all the samples, and of course we wanted to keep it COVID friendly. So what we actually did is we prepared a bunch of mini samples right before the lunch period, and then once the kids came and ate their lunch, we came over with a cart and we dropped off the samples. And then we, of course, we give them a survey, and then the survey results, we had 45 Totally Rocks, 12 Pretty Cool, 10 Maybes, and then 5 No Bays. So not everyone's cup of tea, which is fine, and that's what we tell the students. So it's important to get that feedback. And then I'll talk a bit about it a little later, as far as digging a little deeper into what the students want. So taste testings are nice, but we can always go a little deeper as far as asking what the students really want. So have that. And then for our food service Friday for tomorrow, Friday, we had this week we had a line presentation contest. So this was among the different campuses. It's hard to see that picture. But it's a picture, or it's a trophy that says Robstown ISD Food Service Promotion Winner. So what we're going to do, highlight tomorrow for the Food Service Friday, is we had a couple of judges, and Ms. Cook was one of the judges, so thank you for participating. We had a few judges go around, and they just judged the line presentation at the different campuses. So we really wanted to showcase, one of the many amazing things the food service department does on a daily basis, which is their line presentation. So we just wanted to make it fun for them. So there's 4 different subcategories. We have hot food presentation, salad bar score, kale placement, fruit placement, vegetable placement, and then creative design. It's out of 40. So tomorrow, the announcements are going to be made of who won the competition. So look for that.
Can I interject really quickly?
Of course.
I think that it explains. I didn't know this was going on.
Okay.
So yesterday I went to go eat at the third lunch, and I waited for all the students to go. And then I came, and the ladies were pretty upset. Well, not upset, but they said, why are you just coming now? I hope this doesn't affect our review. I had no clue what they were talking about. They said, it's not always like this, we're already putting away. They said, I came to eat with my niece, but I came to get my lunch, and then I walked, and she says, well, I'm going to band. So I sat by myself in the corner, but that explains why they. I hope this doesn't affect our review. I said, I'm not here to. I had no clue what was going on, but.
Yeah, I had a few managers texting like, so when are we coming? I'm like, well, it's a week competition. The reason we made it a week is to make it fun, so that they don't know exactly when the judges are going to come and look for a lot.
It definitely explains it.
Yeah,
I was totally
it was fun.
I said, what do I mention? Don't tell Mr. Teeger or something. I said, I'm not here for that.
And trustees, again, you know, as part of our board protocols, you know, if you'd like to visit, and I'd like to welcome all of you, because I'd love to go have that Country Bowl breakfast too. You know, just give me a call, we'll set up, and either myself or principal will be up there with you, and let's enjoy it together.
And then another thing that's very exciting. So we recently got approved for SSO. It's a little confusing because it says school year or 2020 through 2021, but that's actually the application for SSO for 2020 through 2021. It goes through October 2020 all the way to September 2021. So that means we are approved for SSO to operate in August and September, and then also we got approved for this school year, so we'll be able to continue to run it October all the way through June. And there's a few benefits for this. One of them is easier documentation. So for BIC, how it would run is it would send rosters with the bags for the teachers. The teachers would then fill out the rosters. The rosters would come back to the cafeteria, and then they would have to either key it in or they have to scan all the rosters. Now with SSO, we don't have to use the rosters, so they're just tally sheets. So all the teachers have to do now is to tally how many students ate, send it back, and then the manager, all they have to do is they can do a bulk entry. So they just add up all the breakfasts that were served for that serving period, and then just do a bulk entry. So it saves them time. That's a huge one. It also carries into lunch where now the students, they don't actually have to enter their number. So the only time the student will actually have to enter their number is if they buy like a la carte, so they get chips or water, where they actually have to get funds from their account. But if they just have a reimbursable breakfast or lunch, they won't need to enter their number. That also helps speed up the line a bit. So we don't have to worry about students forgetting their number or asking about their number. They just, if they have a reimbursable meal, they're just tallied off, making sure to continue to go sit down. So, and another really exciting thing about SSO is there's higher reimbursement rates. So what Robstown is currently getting for breakfast through NSLP, they would receive $2.35 for every reimbursable meal. Now through SSO, they get $2.46. So they get an additional 11 cents per meal that's served from August all the way to June. And 11 cents is great, 64 cents is better. And that's actually what you get for lunch more. So through NSLP, the lunch reimbursement was $3.64. Now through SSO, it's $4.32. So I know obviously one of the big things is to kind of generate as much revenue as we can, and just through applying for SSO and getting approved, and that's one of the steps we can take to make sure we're generating revenue. So that's probably one of the most exciting things for SSO. So, and then upcoming. So, like I said earlier, taste sessions are great, but really we want to start doing the menu planning committees. So actually, Chef Nicole, she's been talking with Miss White on cooking demos, and in addition to the cooking demos, she also wants to have that class be the class who would be the menu planning committee for the high school. So like, with taste testings are great because you can say you like or dislike one item, but really we want to start asking more questions for the students to really get them, get more feedback from the students and really make sure that the breakfast, the lunch that we're offering, the dinner we're offering for the students is something they truly want, and that the menus are created based off their feedback. They're not just something that are made and we actually are receiving and utilizing their feedback. So that's one thing we'll be starting this month. Of course, more urban chefs, just like urban chefs. And then one of the things we're going to be doing is going to be all-staff training on September 27th. We are coming up from a cycle audit in January. So one of the focuses for the training, the all-staff training,
all staff training on September 27th. It's probably going to be more on the compliance side, so reimbursable meals, production records, all that fun stuff. Just make sure that the staff feels comfortable and ready for the audit in January. So.
Ms. Riggs, is your menu still running?
I'm sorry,
Is
no,
your
my
menu still
menu's
running?
no longer running.
I do wanna mention, sir, I spoke to Ms. Riggs earlier that, I think, your company's doing great. I see on social media, I mentioned to Ms. Riggs, when I came by earlier that, there was a parent on my Facebook feed that the general question kind of asked, what is our district serving the kids? So I quickly went to the comments, and many parents were, man, you should have seen what they posted the other day, that the breakfast at the high school. So I mean, not one comment that I saw was negative at all. So I think it means now that we're posting and we're getting, I think with those, I know that my niece came and told me about that Philly cheesesteak thing. So I think the community's aware, and now they're, big transition from what we had, and now there's no negative as far as what I've seen. Even the parents are commending the food, so I commend to you and your staff, because I mean it's a big turnaround from what we previously had. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, trustees, we have the list of bills and financial statement. Ms. Riggs?
It's been a minute, Ms. Riggs.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Moreno, and Board of Trustees. I'm excited to be here with you today. We are going to go over the list of bills for the month of August. The list of bills start on page 23 and end on page 34. For the month of August, so far, the bills were $2,181,715. Now that is a pretty high amount compared to the months we were running previously, and that's because we did have our August debt service payments. So that's why the amount is higher. And then we do try to fit in as many bills as we possibly can pay before the end of the fiscal year. Does anyone have any questions on the list of bills? With no questions to the list of bills, the financial statements can be found on page 36. So the first section that we will review is the general fund as of August 31st. And this is going to constantly be changing as we work through the audit. So this is kind of a snapshot in time. Every day I look at it as a snapshot in time, and some days we're plus, some days we're net deficit. It just depends on the entries that we're doing at the time. But at the time that we ran this, for the general fund, total revenues were $27,294,434. We had total expenditures of $26,382,780. We had total other uses of $176,954. For the month, or for the year, at this point in time, revenues exceeded expenditures by $734,703. So if that were to end the year, which we're not, it would, our fund balance would be $9,618,465. One of the things I wanted to note in the general fund was we had an audit outstanding for our 2016 certified values. We always go back previous years because our values change as people protest. And so we do an audit so that if our values did change and we were entitled to additional revenue, we go back and try to recoup that revenue. So I'm happy to say that for our 2016 audit, which was our 2017-2018 school year, we were able, before the end of the fiscal year, to recuperate $195,121 that we were owed from the state. So that was unexpected revenue that we did receive, which was fantastic. In addition, we received our ESSER 3 NOGA. So one of the big expenditures that we had at the beginning was that $1,500 stipend payment. So that payroll, the $1,500 that we paid out, was $649,000. So we went ahead and drew that down. And as I told you, we're also going to be taking indirect costs on everything we draw down. And we're able to use that unrestricted rate. So that allowed us, when we did that drawdown, to put $104,000 into the general fund. So that also helped the general fund. I do believe at the end of this year, we will end with a surplus. What that amount is going to be, I cannot tell you right now. One of the things I will tell you is that until we finalize the audit, I will include in the board packet a snapshot of where we are from August, so we can kind of see. So in October, I'll have the financials for September, but I'll also have the financials for August, so you can see how we're progressing as we go. The second middle section is the food service. Total revenues were $1,180,026. Total expenditures were $1,490,054. We did do that journal entry for other resources, the $200,000, which was the fund balance that we had in our summer feeding program, that 242. You allowed us the ability to do a budget transfer through the budget amendments that you approved last month. So at this point in time, expenditures exceeded revenues by $110,029. With our beginning fund balance, we would have ending fund balance of $109,038. Now, I can tell you right now that is not an accurate number. That does not show $72,000 that we owed SFE for July and August, amongst other outstanding bills that we have to pay. So again, this was just a snapshot in time, and you'll get to see an update as we're going. Interest and sinking, we had total revenues of $4,794,746. We had total expenditures of $4,889,524. We had total other resources of $171,392, which led us to have total revenues exceeding total expenditures by $76,613. So we're projecting our fund balance as of this snapshot in time to be $391,984. One of the things I also wanted to note in food service, and I'm sorry that I forgot while I was in that section, is we did receive that one-time emergency payment of $151,000. So that is something, and we received it, I think it was the day before the fiscal year ended, so that was fantastic as well. So moving to page 37 is the tax collection schedule.
If I may say, just because I know it's mentioned on here, trustees, we do recognize that we've already paid out our employees based on your approval, the $1,500 initial retention stipend component. We're still gonna verify. We think we're okay, but we don't want to take any chances. I may be bringing a resolution to the next board meeting to be able to at least have that component, any of the stipend components, just as a resolution item. That way, at least we know it's that extra step that we take. So, but that's something we're gonna verify. We think we're fine, but we don't want to assume anything on it. So just kind of expect that.
It's better safe than sorry.
Yeah, and that goes back from the additional 1,000 that y'all approved. So everything will be in one resolution.
Have you approved the additional 1,000? Because I don't know if you're not.
We discussed, no, because it's just part of ESER 2, so that's why we want to make sure, because that's the way that we're utilizing it, is that's need to be in a resolution item or not.
Okay,
So,
because do
that'll-
y'all know about the 1,000? Everybody knows about the 1,000? Oh,
I mean, I'm assuming that.
good.
As far as tax collections for the general fund for the year, we collected $6,606,379.30, which was about 98% of what we had budgeted. And for debt service, we collected $3,140,955.62, for a total of $9,747,334.92. Does anyone have any questions? No? Thank you.
It's early. Next item on the agenda, consent agenda items. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda items?
So moved.
I have a first by Larry and a second by Cesar. Any questions? Dr. Moreno, I have a question. So we talked about minutes and the budget amendments. What is C? Is C included in the approval of agenda of consent items?
It has been, and it has been like that in the past. It is a it's a year-to-year process that we go through, so that's it was before.
Yeah, we were provided a list of the honor classes that are.
So do we need to discuss this, or we're just gonna approve them all? Approve them all. It's included in the consent agenda items.
If I may, this was approved back in June.
It's already been discussed for,
I just wanna make sure we don't have to do a separate vote.
Madam President, and members of the board, back in June, we brought this list to the Board of Trustees and it was approved. At that time, the classes were listed as pre-AP classes. And then the board approved policy EIC. We approved a policy to remove the word pre-AP in board policy, and it was changed to honors. So all we're doing now is changing the affidavit with that change. So instead of the classes being called pre-AP, they're officially called honors. And when the board approved the change in policy, we would like to also have your approval to change it in the UIL exemption courses so that it all matches.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Rivas. I just wanna make sure. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next item, governance.
Trustees, this item, and Ms. Padilla is going to fill us in if there's any questions on it, but this discuss and consider approving a nomination for place 7 Board of Directors for Nueces County Appraisal District Resolution. Are there any questions on that particular item? If not, Ms. Padilla is also going to brief us on it.
So this is to be, if anybody's interested, right, in being on the ballot for place 7, correct?
Ms. Padilla?
Yes, correct.
Is
If
anybody
you do have
interested?
if you do have a candidate, then you would approve the resolution.
Okay,
If you don't, you would have to take it back.
okay. Is anyone interested in being on the ballot?
We've got enough to do.
Okay, so no action on, 8A. Is that all?
Yes, ma'am. And then yes, on 8A.
Okay, now B, this was considered.
So trustees, this is an item that we discussed our last board meeting, discuss and consider approval of revisions made to the Roxanne ISD Board of Trustees Board Operating Procedures. You recommended that we make a couple of adjustments, and we also wanted to add, I refer to it as an addendum, an additional item, because it's not necessarily falls under the categories. All of you have this particular document that I put on here. So one of the items on page 7, the question was asked because it says superintendent and board president, and the comment was made to add or. So now you notice we have and or that will be updated. If you go to the next page, this would have been page 10 of the board operating procedures. We had the conversation as far as which was the letter G, about the cell phone usage during a board meeting, and we took that particular one out compared to what it was there before, so that whole G was taken out. And then the one task you asked me to look for is how we would be able to recognize, and this is language again that I crafted. If you have any suggestions, we can change it up. On 19, I added this whole section, board recognition of loss of life. And the way I termed it is a board member or members may request for flowers to be purchased on behalf of the school district and or board of trustees for the loss of an immediate family member or members. And that definition is very, very important. So what we defined on that one is a person's parents, siblings, spouse, child by blood, adoption or marriage, grandparents, and grandchildren. If that encompasses everything that you agree upon, trustees, then that'll be our language that we'll have in there for now until we continue moving forward as far as an operating procedure.
Perfect, thank you, sir.
I make a motion to adopt the changes as described by Dr. Moreno.
I'll second.
Thank you, Bertha. I have a first from Bertha and a second by Cesar. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda, business and support.
Trustees, Ms. Ricks is going to come up on this particular item and discuss and consider approval of purchase orders exceeding $50,000 for software. Trustees, on this particular one on page 75, there's 2 items that go along with that particular one. Anything, of course, based on board policy over $50,000, I bring to the board for your final approval. But on this specific one, let's see, 75. Okay. You'll notice, and I'll let her go through the presentation, but even though the second one she's going to talk about, which is $43,450,000, I'm asking the board to go ahead, even though it's within my authority, if that exceeds the 50, we at least would have already approved it, so it doesn't slow down the process. And this is Edgenuity, which we use at the high school. In case we need additional training or anything, it may well go over the 50, and that will slow down the process if you'll approve that. Yes, ma'am.
I think you kind of covered it, sir.
There we go.
You know, board policy HCH local says any single budgeted purchase of goods and services that cost 50,000 or more shall require board approval. So right now we're paying 43,450 for Edgenuity. We believe that we may have to increase costs. We're not 100% sure, so that would take us over the 50. And so if that were to occur, we'd like to be able to proceed ahead of time so that we can get that software up and running. And then this year, our Skyward total is $54,090.80, so that is over the $50,000 limit. That is our software for student, for finance, and for our Skyler, which is the all-call system we use whenever we have emergencies or that we need to contact the parents. So it is our recommendation that you approve these two purchases.
Make a motion to approve.
You said that was for, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a first by Larry. Do I have a second? Any questions?
Okay, Ms. Reed, you said that this one was for 50 or 43,000, correct? 43,450?
The Edgenuity, sir, yes.
And the Skyward was how much?
$54,090.
So that's also gonna be approved here?
Yes, you would be approving both.
And then it's set up on page 75, you'll see the difference in what.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Riggs. Next item, actions, I'm sorry, the property.
And trustees, this has now gone through where we've gone back, we've sent it to the city, they made a couple adjustments, went back to our attorney, they made the final adjustments. Now we have a clean copy. So we'd like, on this particular item, discussion and possible action regarding executing a memorandum of understanding with the city of Robstown regarding real property located at Casablanca, Robstown, 1.2 acres out of East Block 2A Park, and Griffin W. Robstown Block 6 Lot 9 ETAL, otherwise known as Beatriz Taglia Park or Turtle Park. And again, trustees, this has already gone through our final review with our attorney. Now what it would do is, if you approve it, now it goes on to the city, but the city knows it's already gone through our approval process. And I think they're trying to take that next week.
I've reviewed the revisions of the MOU, so I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Larry and a second by Cesar to approve the MOU as stated. Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Moreno, for handling that.
Yes, ma'am.
Next item is instruction.
Trustees, on this last item, we have discussed and consider approval of a class size waiver, extension waiver on page 89. Ms. Silva, did you want to say anything about that?
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Moreno, we bring forth a waiver this evening. We do have 2 first grade classes at Lots Beach Elementary that are at 24. And of course, in the past, the rule was any class in grades K to 4. There has been a new law passed this year, so now that includes pre-kinder. So we are also monitoring closely our pre-kinder numbers, that they do not exceed 22. So you'll see in the need addressed that we now make the note that it does say pre-kinder through 4th. So we will monitor pre-kinder through 4th to ensure that the class size is not larger than 22, and if it is, then we'll bring forth a waiver to the board for approval. So presently, we're asking for 2 first grade classrooms at Lots Beach Elementary.
Ms. Silva, do we have a paraprofessional helping out? There's someone helping? No.
That's a lot of energy.
That's just in pre-K.
Not in first grade, that's just in
At what
pre-kinder.
level do we have?
In pre-kinder, they each have a teacher assistant. Yes, ma'am.
And trustees, where we can, we're also, let's say if we have a brand new student that enrolls to our school district, we also will consider that, maybe encouraging that family to San Pedro, because we still have more room at San Pedro.
Yes,
this
our
summer.
first grade classrooms at San Pedro have room, so, if it is that becomes necessary, then there'll be a conversation with the parent.
Do we have classrooms right now, 22?
Yes. A couple. most of them are below 18, 14, 17. I mean, it varies from campus and grade levels.
There's a lot of energy. Wow. Bless whoever the teacher is.
Well, I like
Extra.
the comment that you did, sir, that if you get encouraged to try to move them in school, just try to keep them as low as you can right now.
Oh, yes.
Especially with this pandemic, just try to cross them on.
I hope give some balance.
I don't
Yes.
find
24 is a lot.
the area.
That's a lot. I think 22 is a lot though.
How do we identify? What do you mean?
The area that.
There's zone two?
The zone.
The zone.
Alright.
And the zone.
I know, but how do we identify that class speeds?
I guess if you're within that vicinity.
Yeah, there's a certain,
Oh, Casablanca.
no, there are gonna be a boundary, and we have it by address.
We have a map
Yes,
identified.
there is.
But at any point, I mean, even if they're within the San Pedro boundary, they can still, if they choose to come to Robert Driscoll, or
They-
they specifically have to go there.
They have to go to that particular home campus, but they can submit a request to be, transferred to a different, if there's room, so you're correct, and only if there's room.
So right now, do we have that, not spots? Do we have anyone
That's
that's
what we're doing.
there?
That should not be there, no.
Yeah, and like for right now, so for example, Driscoll's always been the one that we've gotten the most transfer requests or in-district transfer requests, but those go back to my final approval. At this point, I'm gonna look at that very, very carefully, and as far as approving any, because again, trying to keep the numbers balanced, but we still want to try to get some balance of, again, San Pedro right now, which is a little bit lower in certain classrooms, and we wanna continue pushing that direction. So I'll be monitoring that further, pretty closely.
And that's monitored daily. Every day we get the enrollments by teacher. So that's, I monitor that daily.
Thank you.
Dr. As far as the motion, can we go ahead and grant you authorization for any future class size exemption waivers? Just in case you need to submit another one after this date?
I appreciate it, I mean, that's, yeah, I think as long as you state it in the motion, then
Amend the
that's.
motion?
No, there's no motion on the table at this time, but we can go ahead and add it to the verbiage and whatnot. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion, to approve the class size exception waiver, allowing Dr. Moreno to, submit any other class size exception waivers in the future date.
Is that allowed by state?
Yes, ma'am. It's just because any waivers that get submitted, every waiver needs to come to the board. But if we go ahead and grant him authorization just to go ahead and submit these waivers, they don't have to bring every single one back to us. If a class goes over the 22, they can automatically just do it.
We normally always approve anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We grant him authorizations for this, it just gets done.
Up to what point? Do we have a time, like 24 is the limit? Do we want to put a limit on it?
Anything over 22 in elementaries, they have to do a waiver
Right,
for.
I know that part, but if we, what is the limit that we can go exceed?
Oh,
Like
we
we
won't
have a
go.
class of 37.
No, we won't do that. We won't go
What's the
above,
limit that we
we
can?
won't go above
Well,
24.
like,
24?
like Ms. Silvas and I were talking, 24 is gonna be a good magic
That's
number,
it.
but we gotta be careful too that when we look at that, that's where you're gonna trust my judgment. I'm not gonna over exceed, but it's just, depending on where we are at that state. So, but of course, our goal is to always try to keep it as manageable as possible.
Let me get a second. I have a first by Larry. Do I have a second?
Well, I'll second with, the changes.
Motion as stated.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Okay, so basically, we're gonna leave it to his discretion, and it
For
could be
for
up
waiver
to-
submissions,
Right, waiver submissions,
yes.
but not setting a limit as to what amount he cannot exceed.
Well, the classes will go over 22 automatically sometimes, and as soon as that happens, a waiver needs to be submitted to
Right,
the state.
right, I get that part.
So now we can always come back and as a board or as a team, we can say, okay, how many students did we submit a waiver for? We need to work on that. And that's when we start moving or looking at
Maybe you
zones.
could just, give us an update, sir. When you have them, give us an
Yeah,
update, and
that's a good
superintendent
idea.
update. Can you do that?
That's
Okay.
Oh, that's fine.
Are we okay with that?
I'm okay
And
with that.
when I do submit, once the board approves the waiver this evening, when I do, submit the waiver online, then it always asks for the date that the board approved the waiver, okay? So, I will, hopefully there won't be an issue, if there is, if it's necessary for us to submit another waiver, that I put the date of September 16th on there. But, and if there is, then they'll let me know, and
And
if
then
there's
you'll
an
let us
issue,
know.
then I'll bring it back to the board.
perfect.
Since we're on the topic of waivers, real quick, I got a question, it's gonna involve another waiver, your remote conferencing waivers. Are you gonna bring that to the board so we can go ahead and authorize authorization to Dr. Moreno to approve those? Cause I know that's a student by student basis also for anybody that's gonna go over the 20 days.
If it's necessary, yes, we will bring it.
And even if there's a gap between those 20 days, that does
Right.
count towards those.
Correct.
So I know
Because
that
that
one,
would
you may
need-
wanna,
that would
you may
need
wanna bring that
approval.
one to the board and explain, so that way everyone understands where we're at. So that way you already have authorization, because again, that's a lot of waivers when you start hitting those.
So we could do that also and have that prepared, ready to go,
Yes.
in the event that we have to
I
go
would
over
recommend
the.
that, just off experience.
Yeah, in the
Thank
event
you,
that we
Larry.
need to go over the 20 days.
Well, I'm just gonna, I do all the waivers for another school district, so.
Thank you, Larry, for having us.
I would have never known. I've got 9,000 students, so.
But that's a
Somebody
great-
get him a water.
great idea.
Thank you, everybody. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is closed session. We will now reconvene in closed session in accordance to Texas Government Code 551.
There's no motion to, there's no motion to executive session.
I'm sorry, do I have a motion to go into closed
So-
session?
I'll second.
I have a first by Larry and a second by Cesar. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We will now go into closed session. you know the time?
8:28.
Larry Cantu left the meeting at 8:28. Next item on the agenda, open session, sir.
Trustees, I'd like to discuss and consider approval of resignations, appointments, and terminations as discussed in executive session.
I'll make a motion that we approve, all items as discussed in executive session.
I have a first from Cesar and a second from Bertha. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, adjournment. I have a motion by Bobby and a second by Cesar. Any questions? No questions, but great meeting, everybody. Everybody have a great evening. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?